Hey there, welcome. As you can see by the title, I joined a Pokemon Draft League, the TCL Season 6. It's PokeTuber Draft League. You can join it if you want by, well, not this one specifically, but you can join stuff like this by going to their subreddit. It's called PokeTube, I believe. I think there's also a PokeTubers, but I think the one that this is from is called PokeTube. There's two, you'll just have to find out. There's a Discord link and all. Anyway, if you don't know what a Draft League is, it's basically a competitive battling, it's a draft league. So each person drafts a certain number of Pokemon, and they use their teams to fight each other with the Pokemon that they've drafted. Each Pokemon's worth a certain number of points. As you can see, something like Dragapult is worth 18 points, and something like Evil is worth 2. And so you get 110 points to start with, and each person drafts Pokemon until they run out of points, or until they get all the Pokemon that they want. So, each person has a logo as well. I have one, it's just not uploaded to the thing. I'm the Campbell Cottonees. So, I wanted to join this because I thought it'd be really fun, and you know, why not? I'm just gonna go over the Pokemon that I drafted. I'm not gonna go over everyone's team. I might do like specific things for people that I battled during the videos, but just to start with, I'm gonna go with what I drafted and kind of like a why. So I drafted right here. So I started with Cinderace, because Cinderace is a solid Pokemon. It's literally good, and I really didn't want to play against it. It's just so good with Libero. It has so much potential. It has Court Change. It has banded, you know, always stab, strong moves like Pyro Ball, High Jump Kick, Gunk Shot, Iron Head, you know, the works. So it's a great Pokemon, and I would be hard pressed to miss it up. So that's why I first drafted. Next then I picked Clefable because I didn't want to play against it. That's actually the main reason I picked it. And it's a fantastic Pokemon. It was worth the most points out of any Pokemon, actually. It was the only one in the 19 points tier. Hold on, let me show you. Yeah, right here. So here are all the point tiers of all the Pokemon. You can feel free to pause it if you want to look at them all. Unfortunately, you can't see the 1 or 2 pointers on my current layout, but I'm not going to scroll over because they don't really matter as much. But yeah, Clefable's at the top, and Cinderace was right below it. That's why I picked Clefable. I wanted to be the one to grab that and not have to deal with it, because it's a huge threat, and it's a huge defensive monster with like Teleport, Wish, Protect. It's just very strong, so I think it'd be a mistake for me to miss out on it. Next I picked up Magnezone, because I noticed a lot of people, you know, a lot of steel types were going to be picked, like Corviknight, Lucario, there's Ferrothorn, and Skarmory was around here somewhere. There it is. I wanted to have Magnezone because I like Magnezone a lot. It's a pretty cool Pokemon, and Magnet Pull, it has a lot of good uses that it can do with Magnet Pull to trap enemy steel types. It can be analytic if you just want it to be a slow damage monster, or it can be sturdy if you need it to be, you know, like a support or, you know, other stuff. So I thought it would be a great Pokemon to grab, even though it's not really worth the most amount of points. I probably could have grabbed something a little better, but I really liked Magnezone, and I thought it would really help me out with what I had already. And the next pick I got was Indeedee Male, because I know how much Expanding Force hurts. Expanding Force, if you don't know, in Psychic Terrain, it doubles the power, no, not doubles, it boosts the power by 50%, and it's an extremely strong move that Indeedee can basically just spam. It's a great Pokemon, and Psychic Terrain is very useful for stopping enemy priority moves, and just, it's a great thing. So I decided that I'd grab it just because. I grabbed Conk next because I noticed that I felt like I'd start to be weak to a lot of dark types and stuff like that, so I wanted Conk because I at this point I had a plan to go with like Trick Room and Terrains. So starting from Indeedee, I wanted to get that going, and I grabbed Conk first because I felt like it was the most valuable, and I didn't really think that the rest of them would be picked except for maybe Porygon. So I decided to grab it early. It also has a pretty high point total, so I thought it might be desired and it would be very helpful to me. Next I grabbed Clawitzer, very low point total, but I wanted it early so that it wouldn't ruin my terrain team. I grabbed Pincurchin next to it because, you know, it sets an electric terrain. If I have electric and the psychic terrain, then Clawitzer's Terrain Pulse, which is 130 power in a terrain, which is crazy because Mega Launcher then boosted it by another 50%, very strong move. So it can basically just fire off cannonballs at whatever it's looking at. It's a very good Pokemon that people probably overlook, but ever since Terrain Pulse came out, I think that it'd be really fun to use, so I really wanted to try something like that, so that's why I grabbed it. Pincurchin is obviously just because it's Psychic Terrain, really. It's not a bad Pokemon either. It gets a lot of, like, it gets Spikes and Toxic Spikes, and then it also gets Rising Voltage to use in its own Electric Terrain, so it does good damage, and it also has good support with hazards. Next I grabbed Porygon, so I could go Trick Room. These 4 are basically specifically for Trick Room. I grabbed all 4 of them so that I could have just a slow, Trick Room team. I don't need to explain what Trick Room is. Porygon's also really a really nice defensive Pokemon as well. It does get like Teleport, Recover, gets a lot of damage and coverage moves. It has download, so even when you don't invest in special attack, it still does good damage. Great Pokemon. I thought it would be a mistake to not grab it. Next was Raichu. I grabbed Raichu because I was still in the terrain thing, and I was also running out of points, so I needed to wrap it up. I grabbed Raichu, and then with Pincurchin and Surge Surfer, it is incredibly strong. It doubles its speed in electric terrain, so you can go with great rising voltages that are nigh unstoppable. It also gets Nasty Plot, so you can boost its special attack to be way higher, and it's just good. It also gets stuff like Surf and Grass Knot to cover its ground weaknesses, so I felt like it'd be a great electric type to use, because otherwise my team is pretty electric. I mean, obviously adding an electric type adds to the ground weakness, but I felt like an electric type that can cover those ground weaknesses would help me as well, since, it can also put out the damage that I'm trying to show. I can also give, like, Rising Voltage to Magnezone and Electric Terrain as well, so all 3 of them will do great damage when the terrain's up. Also, one thing a lot of people wouldn't really think of, probably, is that Indeedee with Raichu because I can give Raichu both Expanding Force and Rising Voltage, so if I used both Indeedee and Pincurchin on a team, and then I also have Raichu, I can have it switch between those 2 incredibly powerful moves. So it functions well in Psychic Terrain as well, and it protects it from stuff like Sucker Punch, so that's really nice. Next I picked was Orbeetle. I picked Orbeetle so that I could use Webs, so I don't have to resign myself to Sticky Webs to Trick Room teams. This way, with Sticky Webs, I can go Fast Clawitzer, like Timid, and then just have Webs as the speed control so that it can function as just a fast Pokemon. Not fast, but not as bad as it normally is. So with web support, stuff like Magnezone or Indeedee will be able to outspeed certain threats like maybe Excadrill or Hawlucha, even without, being under Trick Room. And then last, well, also Orbeetle gets Expanding Force, so I can use that in Psychic Terrain if I need to. It gets some funny stuff like, it also gets Trick Room, so it is another Trick Room setter that I can use if I don't want to use Porygon. It gets some good moves like Body Press, Iron Defense, Calm Mind, Stored Power, a lot of stuff that I can try with it. Orbeetle's doesn't have the greatest stats, but it does have a lot of options it can do, so that's nice. Unfortunately, it doesn't have that good abilities, but whatever. Last thing I grabbed was Thwackey, because I only had 4 points left, and also because someone sniped a Rillaboom from me. I was trying to grab Rillaboom, when was I trying? I was trying to grab it here, that's why I grabbed Conk instead. This is when I decided I wanted the terrains. I should have grabbed Rillaboom earlier because of how good it is, but I didn't get a chance. So instead, I was settling with Thwackey, because Thwackey actually still has 85 base attack. Grassy Glide still will do great damage. It's a great defensive Pokemon with Eviolite. It has Leech Seed, Knock Off, stuff like that, so I can use it as like, a healing Eviolite bot with Grassy Terrain, because with Eviolite and Grassy Surge, it's essentially like having leftovers, so I don't need to run leftovers on it, since, obviously I have to run Eviolite. So I can run Eviolite and then also have like a semi-leftovers type thing. And then, Leech Seed obviously just adds on to that, and I can knock off Grassy Glide. Great Pokemon, honestly, even though it's not fully evolved. Unfortunately, someone also sniped Weezing. I was actually right about to grab Weezing. They actually used one of their, there's like certain coach things, like team changes that you can do. He picked something like, what was it? Togekiss, and then he like substituted it for Weezing just as I was about to pick Weezing, so that was kind of frustrating, but it's okay. Unfortunately, Coughing doesn't get Misty Surge, otherwise I might have grabbed it too, but we have to settle for 3 terrains and not 4. It's okay. It's still really good. So yeah, that's my entire team. We'll probably get into battles within the next few days. I don't know exactly when, because we have until the 25th to finish the first week of battles, so it might be a sec before they all come out. But I'll go over other people's teams and why I picked certain Pokemon for certain teams during those specific videos. So yeah, those are to come in the future. So yeah, thanks for watching, and be prepared to see more Draft League in the future.
Hey, do you have Discord? Wow, me too. You should join mine.